Back to Breaking the Grade live. We are just getting off of our masterclass. And so doing a live like this feels super, super easy. I'm sure Ken feels that way. I certainly feel that way. Ken, let me know if we are live everywhere. And so that's always a good feeling because we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and all of that happens in the back before we even turn the cameras on. I would like to introduce our guest today. Our guest is somebody I've gotten to know, respect, and really think is super freaking cool. So welcome, Anissa, to our show. Please tell everybody who you are, where you are, what you're about, and then we'll go from there and talk more about lead generation in the education space, because that's what people are joining for. But the floor is yours.
Hi, Josh, and thank you for having me. Thank you for the kind words, always. I'm Anissa Bouderaoui, so I'm the founder of Lingo Circle. We're a bilingual education platform. We help teachers, language teachers, and families bridge the gap between intention and execution. A lot of parents want to teach a second language to their kids, especially their home language, but the tools are not there that fit the K-12 or young children space. And that's what we're building. We're also helping teachers and trying to give them better tools to support bilingual education or English language learners. And I'm in New York City.
And talk more about you, your journey, your parents. That's really relevant, especially in this case, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that what makes my journey different is I came to founding Lingo Circle from a personal need. I'm a mom of 3 children, age 8, 5, and 3 years old. I moved to New York 15 years ago now, so I'm definitely considered a New Yorker now. And I was really experiencing a challenge in trying to figure out a way to teach my home language, French, to my children. I really felt that English being my second language, although I'm fluent, I really needed that connection with my kids and for them to be able to speak my language and to interact with their grandparents. And I didn't find easy options unless you're located next to a bilingual school. There was no other options. So I wasn't fortunate enough to live in the city and be close to one of these schools. So I really was looking for a way to make it available differently to parents. I also wanted to build something that was different from what is already existing out there. You have a lot of solutions that are a one-size-fits-all, where language is being taught to young children and adults, and the content is similar no matter the age group. And we know that content matters for young kids. You need to keep them engaged, and that's how I launched Lingo Circle, which was first more of a platform that connects tutors with parents and their kids. But with an actual program. We wanted to build an actual curriculum behind what was being taught by the teachers. We were training the teachers, which makes us different from the other tutoring marketplace that you have out there teaching languages. We really wanted to own the curriculum and to train the teachers so that they live up to the quality of our program, and also to give parents the ability to track the progress and to really have consistency. And then, as you know, since we've worked together, Josh, we then launched a product, because a lot of parents don't have the bandwidth to take the classes, and it's work for parents, and a lot of parents do it, and I really commend that. But we also wanted to add an option for them to do it outside of a live class, and to be able to learn the language with content that it is geared toward kids via an app. And that's what we launched a few months ago. And the idea was to help families, but also make it available to teachers and schools so that parents can have access to that within the school, forum as well, which would also make their life easier.
Gotcha. Very cool. So we're here really to talk about LinkedIn and how that can be part of growing your education business, and we'll talk about why. Anybody who's joining across any of the platforms, feel free to let us know who you are, where you are, what your company is. If you have questions, pop them in. I will try and pronounce this name, Hira. Hello, wherever you're calling in from or typing in from on LinkedIn. Awesome to have you. And so when I think about you, maybe this is my DC East Coast complex that I have, but I see New York and I'm like, ugh, love that place and hate that place, and I see you rocking LinkedIn like you have been. And, you're comfortable doing a lot of different types of posting on LinkedIn, including some pictures that you have of you kind of walking down the streets of New York and being the boss that you are. And I want to know, was that something that you did intentionally? Was it comfortable for you? And what have the results been by kind of taking this really, credibility first, content expert, and going with it?
I don't know if it was easy, Josh. It's really, I think you have to put yourself in a mindset that, okay, I'm going out there, and as soon as you start posting one piece of content that actually exposes you, because okay, I'm going to add a picture, because of course we know that once you have a picture, it gets more visibility on the LinkedIn algorithm. I think you gain more confidence, and you own your voice more, and then you really own your message, and it's just exhilarating to know that your opinion matters, and you're going to go for it and share it on this platform. So it does come with getting started, and then the confidence comes. And there's always, when posting on LinkedIn, you always feel a little bit, worried about what everybody's going to think. Everybody gets that. I know it, and you just have to get past that point and really just get out there and start posting. And the more you post, the more confidence you gain.
Is there some tips that you can provide to people who have not necessarily taken this step of beginning to leverage LinkedIn for credibility building, for people to understand your story, for you to give them value, for them to get started? What are the first steps that they can take so that they can create a system? Because you clearly have created a system with your team.
I think it's starting to set some times and set some time in your agenda and to write content. And I think that you can get inspired by a lot of things: articles that you're reading, experiences that you're having with your customers or with your prospect, and just start writing content as much as you can and as often as you can. And then just schedule this content, and really it's all about consistency. I think it's also important to engage on LinkedIn, and it's not just about posting. You need to engage with other people that are posting on LinkedIn, comment, and that's a very important piece of it. I think we've discussed it before, and that's often neglected, but it's really what drives engagement, because the more you engage with other people post, then they will also engage with yours.
That's a great point, and you're right. It is often neglected, and it's the commenting part. And that is another way to kind of step in to kind of LinkedIn. If you're not ready to post, and you're still trying to figure things out of how that feels comfortable to you, you can support other people by commenting. You can potentially follow subject matter experts in the space, people you admire, and when they post, you can comment. So here has a question here about some tips to grow the connections on LinkedIn and get a good job ASAP. I don't know if we're necessarily here to kind of tell you how you can get a good job ASAP. A good job is kind of relevant anyway. But what you can do is follow people, and when they do post, you can comment, and that's a way of growing connections and starting to build relationships past, do you just want to be a part of my LinkedIn network? Do you have a process with your team that you do that is helpful? And obviously, again, you're doing this at scale right now, but is there a process? Are you using a specific platform? Are you using a spreadsheet? Like, how are you kind of really doing this in an organized way, like going to the gym? How are you
Well,
doing it on a daily
yes.
basis?
So I don't have a fancy system right now. I'm using definitely a Google Doc where I line up all of the contents for the month ahead of time. I review every content, make sure that it speaks to my audience, of course, and my ideal buyer and my ideal customer. It's very important, and I make sure that the content is engaging, and really, and if we get back to what it would be for education company, it's really just making sure that the content is not just informative, it has to be intentional. It has to build trust and urgency. But for the process, it's really very basic. It's just about lining up the content for the month so that it's ready, and then scheduling the content ahead of time, and making sure that we're engaging when the content is actually posted and live on
Yeah, that is so critical, what you talk about there, which is getting ahead. If you don't get ahead, whether it's your LinkedIn or producing a show, if you don't get ahead, you're going to feel like you're behind all the time, and that's not a good feeling. So I think that's a great tip there, getting ahead. Was there kind of an aha moment for you when it came to LinkedIn, where you said, this is something that I'm really going to leverage, I'm going to be intentional about it? And what was the signal that you got that said, okay, I'm going all in on this?
I think that as I started posting more and more and having my voice heard and basically building my personal branding around what I was building at Lingo Circle, I started having people reaching out to learn more about what we're building. People congratulating me as well for doing so well with Lingo Circle. And that was definitely an aha moment where I realized that this piece of personal branding and building in public is critical nowadays for a business owner, for a founder, and especially a startup founder. It's a very easy way to bring awareness about your brand, and also just put your persona, your founder persona, forward outside in the world.
Yeah. It's amazing that when people just stop planning and start doing, you start to get the results. Because if you didn't just start doing, and maybe it didn't go exactly as you wanted, you're still getting the feedback, you're still building the muscle, of how you can and should be doing this to eventually get the results that you want. So you started hearing from people, which is great. That's what you're looking for. But I'm sure that wasn't instant. So let's talk about the time that time period where you started posting and before people started engaging. And that's the time, if we think about this from a gym standpoint, going to a gym, where you're not necessarily seeing the results, but you're putting in all the work. What was that like, and how did you keep going?
Sure. This is a very good question, because it definitely happened, and it will happen when you start posting. And I think that I realized I was posting consistently, and I realized that I couldn't just wait for engagements to turn into conversations. I had to actively invite the right people in. So I shifted from saying, here is what we are building, to actually asking, are you facing this too? Would you be open to giving feedback? And that simple change reframed everything. Suddenly it wasn't a pitch, it was a collaboration. And now I'm using the slower season to build relationship with early champions, people who may not buy today, but who will shape what we build tomorrow.
That's great. In that shift that you made, can you talk to the audience about how you resisted? I would imagine you had to resist the desire to sell. And your mindset was, would I like a sale? Absolutely. But right now, I'm going to use this opportunity to listen. Can you talk us through how you made that shift in your mind? And it's clearly working, because every time you post, seriously, there's like 20 people. By the time I'm pretty quick on LinkedIn, but by the time I get there, you've got 20 people who are engaging in conversations. So talk about how you have shifted your own mind from, it's not about connection to contract, it's about everything in between.
Yeah, and it's very important. I think that I'm at this stage with what I'm building where I value feedback. I value collaboration. I'm really looking to continue building the platform with teachers, with schools, and to make sure that we go in the right direction. So as soon as I put myself in this mindset, that is, I'm not selling, I'm making sure I'm solving a problem and I'm solving it correctly. And who would be able to give me the best feedback than teachers, school administrators? And I just go with that mindset and that collaborative mindset. And that's really what made a difference. So I go about it as a listener, and I build in public.
And truth be told, you absolutely drank the Kool-Aid of the EdSales Elevation Experience, and that's the point of what we do in our 12-week program, which we're filling up 3E10, which will start on June the 10th. We also have a wonderful community that I will put up a QR code here. If people want to join us and others like Brent and Rose and Chris and Corey and Grace and all these wonderful people. I had 143 companies go through the EdSales Elevation Experience. So we got a lot of people there who can support you on your own journey as you build your education company. We are focused on education, so we know. And we also happen to, I think, be pretty cool people. Although my daughter told me today, she's like, what are you doing with your collar? And I was like, well, I kind of like to pop my collar. So we're cool enough that we feel like it's okay to pop our collars. And I don't know how you feel about that, but we can talk about that later. So we've talked about LinkedIn from the standpoint of kind of, here's the tactics and here's the mindset. Can you also talk about then how you measure your results? Because I believe that a lot of what LinkedIn does will not show up on the score sheet. Meaning, when we send a cold email to, a potential prospect, when they open it and when they reply, we know that we're on a journey together. But that LinkedIn journey is really tough to tell from that initial post when somebody you connect or they see you. So how do you measure results on LinkedIn?
And that's actually a great question at this stage. I'm actually tracking conversations and not conversions.
Nice.
So here is what I focus on. Are the right people engaging with my posts, right? Are they admins, curriculum director, ELL leads? To me, that's an important metric. Are people saving or replying to posts and DMs? Because that will show real interests. How many DMs lead to real conversations or discovery calls? And then, is the content I'm creating generating warm intros or referrals from others in my network? So it's less about likes and more about signals of intent. And ultimately, are we opening doors that will lead to meaningful pilots?
And back to kind of the tactical approach here, because I don't want people to think this is, at least in the beginning, is not doesn't have to be an incredibly complicated thing. What are you using? Are we using Google spreadsheets? What are we using to track this?
Exactly that. Using, as I said earlier, Google Doc to prepare all of the content, and then an Excel spreadsheet to track DMs and responses, and meetings that were actually conclusive or that actually happened, conversations that happened, because again, that's super meaningful. And we worked on that, Josh, how in the Raise Your Hand campaign. But very simple processes at this stage. And of course, we're using LinkedIn Premium for messaging.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, I want to talk absolute friggin' results, in the sense of, I need to get this deal closed, or I need to get this person who ghosted me to reach back out, because this is the time of year. It is, it's May 22nd, right? I think. Yeah, it's May 22nd. And, now's the time where you really want to be closing those deals with the schools. So you have deals that we've all experienced this, where we totally thought that deal was going to close, and then we never hear from them ever again. We're having a conversation, and somebody's ghosted you. So if somebody were to come to you on the streets of New York, and say, in a very New York accent, how am I going to get these deals closed right here and now using LinkedIn? What would you say?
Well, in terms of following up with someone that ghosted you, I would say I don't follow up with pressure. I will follow up with context and relevance. So instead of just saying, I'm just checking in, I'll say, we've made a few updates since we last spoke, and I wanted to see if this new direction might be more relevant for your team. Or I'll send a quick note. I saw that your school is expanding its bilingual program. I'm happy to share how we're supporting others in this space. So the goal isn't to chase them, it's to give them a reason to re-engage.
That's awesome. You saying that reminds me of how effective that is. Just hearing it. And, I often, in the EdSales Elevation Experience, you heard me talk a lot about golf. And the interesting thing about golf, when you swing easier, the ball goes further. And, a lot of people would think that the harder you swing, the further the ball goes. And I feel like you are in such a, I think they say like a flow state with what you're doing right now, because you have clarity in your communication. You have confidence in what you're doing. And so you're not chasing now. People are coming to you because they're interested. Is that obviously, business is still business. It's still tough every single day. But in terms of what I just talked about, that flow state, are you feeling that right now?
Absolutely, and I think it's really all about nurturing your ideal buyer, your ideal customer persona, and it's a gymnastic. It's something that is you're building relationship for the long run, and that's why I don't have this mentality of chasing or closing the deal. I just know that everything we're doing right now on LinkedIn is spreading the word about the work we're doing, about why we're doing it, and then building relationship and working collaboratively with schools and teachers, and not in a pushy way. Really, the idea is, am I solving a real problem? Is it a problem that you're facing? And shall we look into solving it together? And that's really the approach I'm having right
It's
now.
awesome. So some of the takeaways that I wanted to give to the audience here, and one of them is basically what you're saying here, which is re-engage with value. You know, if somebody has ghosted you or for whatever reason, and by the way, folks, they don't ghost you because they don't like you. You don't even know them that well. They ghost you mainly because people are busy, especially in the school space this time of year. So re-engage with value the way you would want that. Authenticity outperforms salesy every single day. Go check out the picture of my guest walking down the street in New York City. That is authentic. I love that picture. Credibility content converts, which means give good content, not just about your product, but begin to coach people. You know, if your audience needs the help and you can give them help, start coaching them. Focus on trust, not just tactics. Tactics aren't going to do it. Trust is what is going to get somebody to potentially respond because they see that there's a subject matter expert in front of them that can help them. So I wanted to transition a little bit to talking about the EdSales Elevation Experience because we're in the middle of this open cart. So I'm going to put up a QR code here, which Ken tells me is working, which is awesome. And if people go there, you'll recognize that we can help you in the EdSales Elevation Experience, our 12-week program, just like we did with Lingo Circle, just like we've done with 142 other companies. So can you talk to us about the experience that you had? And you reminded me before we came on air that it took you a little while to get there. But when you got to the EdSales Elevation Experience, what was the transformation that occurred for you to grow this business?
I think it's really comes down to everything I was saying earlier, Josh. I really learned how to listen in the sales process, how to make sure I'm solving a real problem, and having the right methodology and path to talk to my ideal customer persona. And I think that's really the one thing that clicked when I joined your program, that I probably wasn't aware of before. And that was a big key takeaway for me.
Yeah. And had you tried other programs before? You know, kind of where were you mindset wise at that point with the business?
Well, I did try other programs before, which were more product market fit related or targeted. I think that what I liked about your program is that it was geared toward education. And that's really what made a difference. You have a lot of accelerator program, a lot of coaching that is out there. And I really wanted to join a sales program. I don't know if that's the right term for your program, but something that would be geared, how do we approach the education space?
Right. Yeah, we're only focused on education, as you know. And then can you talk about the relationships that you've built outside of it? As you know, my family is transitioning more back to the United States. And one of the things I'm really excited about is getting to hang out with you guys. Like going up to New York or Philly or being in DC and getting to see Eric and Paul and all of the people that we've gotten to know. So what about the community aspect as well?
I think it's an important aspect of it, and thank you for reminding me. I loved it. I loved meeting with a community of founders that were in the same space and that had the same challenges. And I even liked it more so when they actually live in New York. And I actually ran into one of the cohort member at a conference. I think it was really a key component of it, the fact that we were meeting regularly, sharing our struggles or things that were working and brainstorming together really made a difference with this program. And I don't think that you get that often in those programs. And again, the difference is that we were all in the same space, in the same education space. We were not competitors, though, which is great because you manage to curate the participants so that we can work together and support each other without being in a challenging position. So we're in the same space, we can share, and I really loved the community aspect of it.
Yeah, totally. The interesting thing about the cohorts is we will have people who have made no money, and we'll have people who have made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, many millions of dollars. And the same struggle is happening for both sides of that, which is they're trying to figure out how to get leads on repeat, because you want to focus on the business. As you know, I believe in founder-led sales. I don't care if you have $0 or hundreds of millions of dollars. If you don't have leads on repeat, it's going to start with founder-led sales. And so the groups that have come through, you've probably heard me say this, at 143 companies, I would have a beer with every single person who's been through it. I'd have more beers with some people because some people I have more in common with, but everybody comes with this great attitude of looking to grow their business, help other people, and also have some fun. And when you meet for 12 weeks straight for an hour and a half each week, you're going to have some fun, especially when I'm, handling the mic. So I think we had some good times. I would like to we're going to begin to land this plane, but I would like you just to kind of talk a little bit more about the future of your business and what you're seeing. And also feel free to talk about some of the challenges. I love this podcast, How I Built That, with Guy Raz on NPR. I always felt, and not take anything away from Guy because it's an amazing podcast, I always felt that I missed hearing from some of the founders what the challenges were for them. So if you could also give us some insight into what you're facing that is tough, maybe somebody in the audience can help, but talk about the good, the bad, and the future.
Sure, definitely. So I think that one of the challenges that every founder faces, especially in the product aspect of things, setting aside my tutoring platform, is not getting too caught up into what you're building in the product itself, right? So I know it, and I think a lot of founders, especially if they're not first-time founders, know that you can't get caught up into your product and building it in a vacuum. But you always want it to be perfect. You always want, you're hesitant to put it in other people's hands because it's not good enough. And that's really something to avoid at all costs. And I see myself still doing that. And that's why I say if you're building something, make sure it gets in as many hands as possible. Make sure it's being tested by parents, by schools for free, but get feedback, collect as much feedback as you can, because that's very valuable. So I do feel that one of the challenges is not getting caught in my products. And I know it, and I still sometimes feel like, okay, let me build that tool because I think it will be helpful. And no, don't go that route. really make sure that you're building with intent and that you're building with the actual stakeholders and with their feedback, because for product it's very important to build in a collaborative way with your ideal buyer. And then how do I see Lingo Circle moving forward? I think that I do see Lingo Circle helping families and school teacher help better the actual bilingual education outcomes. I do want kids to feel empowered for speaking a second language, or for not being able to speak the first language, the language that they're speaking in the school, correctly. I want their voice to be actually heard. And I'm working on two aspects of language learning right now. I'm helping families that want to share their home languages to their kids. And this is okay. I speak a second language and I should embrace it. But I'm also very adamant in helping English language learners and students that have difficulties in schools, or that are perceived to have difficulties in school because they don't speak the French language that is being spoken in school, which is English. So this cause is very important to me, and I would love to see tools that will help English language learners and English language learning teachers be able to provide differentiated learning and be able to give the right tools to these students that are fantastic students, but they have just the language barrier that is stopping them from achieving and for being fulfilled in school. So that's the path we are working toward right now.
Well, I'm so proud of you and everything you've done, and I appreciate you coming on the show. And I promised you there was a little surprise coming.
Oh, okay.
And even Ken doesn't know this, but so I have always respected your style, and probably it's got this New York thing and your style. And I have had these glasses, not these ones, these glasses that I got in Copenhagen. And maybe I had a few glasses of wine when we went shopping. So I was like all up for whatever. And my wife and my kid and this super nice guy, super, cool guy was like, yeah, you should get them. You should get them. He was selling them to me. And of course I bought them. So I want to see what you think about them. Okay. So I'm going to take these off and I'm going to put these ones on. You could be honest. Okay. These have never made it on air, but I thought now I'm going to get her honest opinion. So I need you to be honest, right? Okay. You ready? So you tell me what you think about these.
All right.
They're from Copenhagen.
And
you could say you don't like them. Honestly, I could give them to my wife or whatever. But
or to your kid.
That's some fun here. You don't like them.
I think first of all, the color matches your logo. Was it intentional?
Very intentional.
So for that aspect, I like them. No, I think they're not bad actually. They're not bad. Yeah. It takes getting used to it, but the color definitely matches your logo. So I think that could be a winner.
Ken's comment is LOL in the private chat. Thank you. It takes getting used to. I appreciate that. That's good. I wonder if that's how people feel about me in general. It takes getting used to.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I'm gonna keep these on the rest of the show here, and but yeah, they're my most expensive glasses, and they've never seen the light of day. And I thought today, I'm going to see if I can get an honest opinion outside of this house of what they look like. So I think I got my honest opinion.
What was the opinion inside the house?
They actually really like them.
Okay.
And But at the same time, like I'm always up for, I mean, look, my collar's popped, like if I was walking down the streets of New York with these glasses and this collar, I'd probably get punched in the face.
At all. That's the thing
Somebody
about New
would.
York. No, no, no. That's the
Yeah.
thing. We got a comment that I like them
Yeah. John, you know
on the
what? And
chat.
John lives in Naples, Italy. Right. So he's like, these are very Euro. Right. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that, John. Thank you. So I've got an LOL. They take getting used to, and an I like them.
But just to go back to your New York comments, you would never get that in New York because people embrace difference. So you would get, I love your glasses. That's what you would get in New York.
Cool. I guess I'm thinking about my own buddies who are from New York, like my buddy Mark Viso, who's from the Bronx, and he would walk up to me and be like, "You look like the world's biggest idiot," and I'd be like, "That's cool, all good, okay." Paul King, I look like I root for the Knicks. Okay, I'll take it. So I'm not sure if that's a yes or a no from Paul, but can you give us a yes or a no, Paul? Because so far we've basically got no answer, but I'll wait for it. So I wanted to pull a little surprise and just have some fun. I knew you'd be able to hang with it. And so, listen, I really, truly appreciate you coming on the show. I think that you have really embraced who you are. You're helping me embrace who I am in these glasses right now. I'm distracted by myself, looking at myself. And that's really important to do. As much as, we're kind of joking about it right now, I think that, yes. Well, what about the Knicks? But it's a yes, but what about the Knicks? But fine. But it's really important. And I think part of what people that we talk to, and maybe you experience this as well, don't see is that people buy from us. It's the platform, yes, it's the logo, it's the brand, it's the post, whatever. But at the end of the day, we have to be comfortable with who we are. We have to be confident with who we are. We have to be clear with how we can help people. And that's important to be able to do. And you have embraced it. And I appreciate that. And so I hope that people will connect with you on LinkedIn. You're an amazing follow. You've got amazing content that's personal, that's also very professional. And that's a tough blend to sometimes brew up, and you have. So thank you again for being on the show and giving me your honest opinion on these funky glasses.
Well, thank you for having me, Josh. And you know what? I like them.
You like them?
Now I can give you a yes. Yes, it did take to getting used to it, but I like them now.
Okay. So a couple minutes and people are in on them. So I appreciate that. Truly. It's wonderful. It's wonderful having you on the show. And it's really, I'm looking forward to being able to hang with you at Tech Week in New York. And by the way, January the 6th is the Catalyst event at University of Pennsylvania's Graduate School of Education. And if you can make that, please do. Yeah, Eric, you're totally right. She's always supporting others. So hopefully, we've got a few people. I think it'd be a long commute for John to come from Naples, Italy. But Paul, Eric, everybody who can make it to the Catalyst event, University of Pennsylvania's Graduate School of Education on June the 6th. I'll be sponsoring it. I'll be speaking at it, and we'll have a bunch of people coming, and I will figure out if I feel comfortable enough wearing these glasses. I don't know.
Sounds fantastic.
But thank you for being on, and keep doing what you're doing. It's really inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh.
See y'all. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next week with John Gamba. He'll be back, and maybe I'll try and